Hey guys, I wanted to give you an update on what I've been working on. Lately, I've been thinking more about how we hook objects up to each other, and currently we're using a lock system which has quite a few limitations that we've been running into. The biggest limitation is that locks only track one Boolean. So we attach a lock to a game object, let's say like the whisk container, and that whisk container has an on powered and an on unpowered. And that is associated with a lock. And a lock is a component, so for every value we want to track, we have to add a lock component. But not only that, it's very hard to actually hook up a specific Boolean value to a specific lock without having to do a whole bunch of steps. So I wanted to make this really simple for us to just add Booleans. I'm starting with Booleans. I do want to add stuff for integers and floats. But I did want to make it easier for us to add multiple booleans to an object. So what I have here is a new system that is basically going to replace locks and multi-locks. This sphere right here, we're going to treat it as our multi-lock, and as you can see here, we have this thing called a Boolean Listener. And then I have these four cubes in this scene. If we start with this one, you can see that it has a couple components here called clickable state and double click. And what I've created is I created these objects called observable booleans. And clicked, spaced, and double clicked are actually all observable booleans. And what that allows us to do is, for example, if I take this cube and I drag it into this field wizard on the Boolean listener, so I'm going to take this cube, drag it over here, it's actually going to grab all the observable booleans that are on that object. So if we look at the cube and we look at clickable state, we'll see that it has clicked, spaced, and it also has double clicked. And you can see these two booleans and this one boolean are on two different components. And if we come back to the sphere and we drag that cube in, you can see that it actually has all three there. So I'm going to select clicked. This right here, this clicked equals true, this is not implemented yet, but basically you'll be able to choose like whether it's true or false. Right now it defaults to true, and that's how this works behind the scenes. Like this object must be true in order for it to activate this. Now that I have selected that, I can hit add. And when I hit add, it actually tells me what it's tracking, and you can see that it draws a line from the, I guess this would be the multi-lock to the lock, and it's tracking the clickable state component, and it's tracking the clicked field. So we can actually track that back here to the clickable state, and you can see it's tracking this specific boolean. Now, if we start this, you can see that the sphere is currently on, and actually we need to add a couple things. So first, let's just do this. So when the Boolean listener is activated, it will turn off, and when it's deactivated, it will turn back on. So if we click this cube, it will turn red because it changes its own state internally, and then the sphere turns off. And if I click this again, it turns this back on, and this turns back to white. Let's dive in a little bit more. So like I said, you can actually track multiple fields on the same exact object. So no longer are we limited to one lock, we're actually able to have multiple locks. So now if I drag in the cube again, and let's do spaced, we can set this, this doesn't actually matter, we can add this, and now it's actually going to track the spaced field. And if we hit start here, if I click, and just so that we don't have to keep doing this, let me just set this up in the editor. So we're just going to turn this off, and then we're going to turn this on. Oops. Okay, let's start it up now. So clicking the cube actually doesn't do anything anymore because it's no longer, oops, we're not going to look at that one yet. Clicking the cube no longer changes the state of this, but if I click then hit space, the cube will turn green and this sphere will turn off. And And of course, turning that back off is going to reactivate it. So now we have multiple states. You can see hitting space actually doesn't turn it green until I actually click and then press space. So you can see how that is working there. So it's actually tracking two different booleans. Now if we go back to the sphere, so we're tracking these two states. Let's actually track another object. So let's track this cube here. So if we click on this, it's going to be cube 4. So we're going to drag that into the field wizard. We're going to select double click, which is the only one, and we're going to add that. Now it's connected there. If I double click, and then hit space, it's going to work. And if I double click this again, it's going to turn back on. So double click and can also be hooked up. And this is on a separate component. And just to show that the double click also works on this cube, we can actually add that. I could say true, whatever. Wonder why that's broken there. It doesn't matter. So I actually added multiple there. That's not very good. There is going to be a remove button here, but this might actually be a bug. Oh, it worked. Okay, cool. So all those states were activated, and this turned off. So yeah, this is still a work in progress, so these things are going to work. I'm actually going to organize this a little better so it's actually grouped by game object, because you can see that some of these game objects are actually identical. So this is going to be cleaned up. This is just my prototype UI. But this is kind of what I've been working on and I'm trying to figure out. Basically, I'm trying to just take advantage of a custom inspector and really make it easy for designers to hook up multiple booleans to one thing. And of course, since we can actually drag in an object like this and be able to pick like the different booleans, we can also add integers and floats to this, and then based on which one you select, we actually change what it shows here, allowing you to basically do what the int checker can do, but all in one object instead of having int checker, float checker, multi-lock plus int checker. It's all going to be built under the Boolean Listener. So yeah, that's all I wanted to talk about. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you.